I saw it and I was like, no. Wow, what's up, rebels? My name's Willie. I am one half of Leo and Willie. We are in gay, we are queer, and today I am here to have the talk with you. I know. Listen, I know it's not fun to have the talk with mother, but we will. It'll be fine, don't worry. It's not gonna be patronizing, it's not gonna be super like, ugh. If you're watching this and thinking it's gonna be a play-by-play, like, oh, put your hands here, you are painfully wrong. If you think it's gonna be one of those, first he comes into the room, and then he comes into it'll be none of that. It's gonna be fine. We're talking about boundaries today, asking questions, and going through some of the stupid things that I originally thought. Firstly, I am cis, my partner is trans, and so I'm talking about a T&C, terms and conditions, type of dynamic. But of course, if you are trans, T for T, T for C, or just nosy AF like I am, and you just wanna watch this, that's fine. So without further ado, let's get into it. Firstly, I am not a sex health expert. I am not a sex educational teacher. No. So if you choose to reference me in scholars or papers or anything like that, that's a kind of a serve. Reference me as sexy black girl on the internet. Right, so today is really just a chance to have a really relaxed kiki about my personal experiences going into intimacy with somebody who is trans, and also some of the dumb preconceived ideas I had, some of the learning I had to do, some of the unlearning I had to do, and some of the questions that I encourage you to have, and some of the boundaries I encourage you to discuss. We will start, I always say we, sorry, when I say we, it's because I'm so used to having like Leo with me. So if I ever say we in this case, I'm talking about me and the voices in my head. No, firstly, the most, I would say, stupidest, don't want to call anyone else stupid if you've done this too, but I do feel like I'm alone in this. Stupidest thing I've ever thought, and I didn't even bring this up to Leo. Thank fuck I figured it out myself before actually bringing it to him. For some context, I met Leo and he had socially transitioned, but he hadn't medically transitioned. So when he was ready to medically transition, I was Googling up things like bottom growth, what does this look like? And I happened to run into a picture of someone who had actually had surgery. This was phalloplasty, to be exact. We're talking making a penis and a urethra out of like skin from your forearm or thigh, so a penis. And I assumed that was bottom growth for a bit. I was like, wow, you inject yourself and then you grow one of them. Oh? Luckily, I did a little bit more research and then I corrected myself. I saw it and I was like, no. And then I Googled the real thing, real bottom growth, and I was like, no. Point is, not every answer is clear, especially if you're a cis person, especially if you're a trans person who maybe hasn't researched about the medical transition or the surgical transitions yet. And so my first thought is, no question is too stupid, but Google's also your best friend. Your partner isn't your trans dictionary, so it's super important to do research yourself. And if you still don't understand, or you think that your partner may have a nuanced way of explaining it to you, because your partner should be able to communicate to you better than Google can. That's kind of why you're in a relationship with your partner and not Google, unless... All right, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Oh, is sleeping with a trans man the same as sleeping with a cis man? No. And the reason why I say no is because sleeping with a cis man is not the same as sleeping with another cis man. This is really important. Everybody's body is different. Everybody reacts to different things. Everybody gets turned on by different things. Everybody has different points, you know what I mean? What's the word for that? Because points fully isn't in the dictionary. It should be. Someone please Photoshop it in the dictionary. I would love that. You should always be communicating what's comfortable for you. How do you like this to happen? What's your boundaries, you know? What's an absolute no for you? One night stands happen, sometimes you do to me, you know? You know what I'm talking about. And so you don't have time for that. It doesn't feel like you have time for those immediate questions, but you should always make time for that. That's really important. You should always, absolutely, no matter how quick it is, no matter how little you know the person, even if you don't know their surname, you should know their boundaries before you sleep with them. I think it's that important. And so with Leo, I simply asked him, what's comfortable? What do you like me to call this? What would you like me to call that? What makes you feel dysphoric? What makes you feel euphoric? And by dysphoric, I mean, it makes him feel uncomfortable. It's rubbing him the wrong way with his gender identity. And euphoric, he's feeling his gender identity. He's feeling good, right? And so it's super important to ask those kind of questions. I will say this, I have in the past been someone with a little bit of ego, like, oh, I can handle it, like, I'll make it work, like, whatever changes in your body, I'll make it happen. So cringe, oh my God. But actually, I need to go humble myself, and I had to like really slow down and be like, oh, no. You know, when someone's face isn't doing what you think it should be doing, the noises aren't what you think they should be making, you're like, oh, well, failed that one. So I had to ask a bit more questions, and it was as simple as, hey, this has changed now, so this is what needs to happen for me to feel this way. And so communication is number one, okay? And anyone who isn't communicating during intimacy anyway, huge red flag, massive, huge. This video is obviously entitled Trans Man, so I'm only speaking to my experience. So top surgery, right? If your partner has or has not had top surgery, really should, I think anyway, encourage the conversation of what do you want to happen above here? From this bit here, what would you like to happen? What would you like me to pull that bit? Chest. Some people are comfortable with certain terms, some people get super dysphoric with other terms. Leo hasn't had top surgery, and so this was definitely a question that we spoke about. And also the terminology and his comfort level changed, and it continues to change. Humans aren't static, right? So let's just say Leo goes to work, and let's say he gets misgendered 10 times. This is an example. And then he comes home, that might not be the day where he wants me to say boobies. You know what I mean? So sometimes it's about continuing that conversation and just understanding that a trans person's just a normal human being, so their feelings on things are going to sometimes change. If something is okay one day and it kind of changes the other day, I can understand, at least from the cis counterpart, of like, bruh, like, I need these rules, especially if you're a little bit neurospicy. Learning rules and trying to stick to them can be quite important depending on your level of neurospicy or what flavor of neurospicy you are. But it's super important just to have that evolve, because similar with us, right? If Leo does something to me one day and it's like, I live for that, and then he done that to me every single day for 2 years, by the end of that ish, I'll be like, bruh, can you do something else? Do you know anything else? Should we watch a movie together? Should I teach you some things? You know what I mean? So you have to keep talking and keep communicating. That's about it. That ain't important. I think it's fair to say that there are some dudes who, after like medically transitioning, may feel a little less dysphoric because of bottom growth. If you don't know what bottom growth is, I'm just going to put a little description for you right now. That can change things, not always, but it can provide more euphoria because, hey, big. I think for myself, the most learning I had to do around my partner's body was after the medical transition. If you remember, in the beginning, it might be a bit sensitive, and you know when you're trying to make someone feel super euphoric, you're like, I'm gonna fuck that shit up. But actually, in the first week, it's like, ow, get off me. And so again, this is all gonna come down to communication. It's gonna come down to communication. If you're watching this, just put communication is key. 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 I haven't actually touched on why I'm doing this video. I find there's not much education about these things, and I'm not talking about actual education where you can just go on Google. I'm talking about anecdotal, which I sometimes find in these cases are the most helpful. You want to hear real people tell you about their experiences. You want to hear someone go, oh yeah, me too, girl. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, or oh yeah, I messed up there too. You kind of need to have that sometime community, right? I frequent my partner is trans on Reddit a lot. And I think that community in particular has certainly helped me realize a lot of my worth in Leo's transition, a lot of my feelings in Leo's transition. And that's a reason why I want to do this, is I'm talking to you. I'm not talking to you about Leo. I'm talking about my experience and what I had to learn in order to have this connection with my partner, which matters very much to me. And so I'm telling you my story and my perspective and the things that I learned and the ways that I was really ignorant, or the ways that I really had to like do more research, so that you can hear it, be like, cool, it happens if you're someone who's entering into this type of relationship, or if you're just someone who just wants the knowledge. And that a lot of people, keeping it 100, a lot of people within the Black community in particular, when it comes to LGBTQ topics, it's not something that we really, in our culture, in our community, if you're Black, you know, right? It's LGBTQ is very much a white thing. And so having these conversations as a Black person is super important to me. I want someone to be able to see me, relate to me and go, okay, cool, this is how I feel. And, you know, I want to talk to someone about it. I want to know what on, but, you know, I might not be able to talk to this person or that person because they don't want to hear about all this. But here's this girl on the internet talking ish, eating a banana and living her best life. So, hey, maybe it's all good. If I could do that for one person, then why not, eh? I will say that it was during Leo's period of extreme heat, I remembered my own boundaries a little bit more. I think a lot of the process was geared towards Leo in the beginning, and this might be something that you do as well in the beginning of someone's medical transition. You might tailor a lot of your emotions towards them. You might also forego a lot of your emotions for them and forego a lot of your own boundaries for them, because it's a huge thing happening in their life, but it's also this huge thing happening in your life. Someone you love, someone who's very special to you, is changing in a lot of ways. You need to remember to put your own boundaries in there first as well, right? So intimacy, at least within the first 3 months of a dude transitioning, they are on heat, a lot of them, right? I'm not saying this is a rule, but it's a majority. Trans guys can be on heat during that period, and you need to remember your own boundaries, okay? You need to, hey, I don't feel comfortable with this, I do feel comfortable with this, I don't want this, I can't do this amount of times, or I do want to do this amount of times, you know, live your truth. Whatever feels comfortable for you, but a part of intimacy is also understanding your own agency, your own autonomy, and going, this is okay for me, or this is not okay for me. And sometimes in the conversation of intimacy with a trans partner, it's easy to forget yourself. It's really easy to, because it's geared towards someone else's experience, making someone else feel comfortable. But sex is a 2 or 3, person activity, or 4, or 5, or 6, or 7, or 8. I should stop. I should really stop. Someone who's like experiencing a lot of change in the bedroom quite rapidly, and you're like, wait, you used to like this before, and now it's like, I know that sometimes that can feel uncomfortable. Imagine if you and someone have like been a part of this thing, you've done this thing and it feels really cool, it's like your vibe, and then suddenly they switch vibes, and it can feel a little bit like, wait, what? Did you not like our vibe? Was our vibe not good enough? You know what I mean? You can overthink that, and it's really important to root your intrusive thoughts in truth and go, wait, this person is asking for things to change to accommodate their sexual experience. Is what they're asking for ruining my sexual experience? And if the answer is no, get on with it. Sometimes it's like just asking yourself these questions, because often the answer is no. It's this person just wants you to do this thing slightly differently, and it doesn't actually ruin your experience. It might just take you out of comfortability. But I always say this, babies, you need to get a little bit uncomfortable sometimes, just a little bit. I'm not saying be uncomfortable during sex, because what kind of message would that be? But I'm saying just in general in life, you could learn some stuff by switching things up all the time. So someone saying, hey, let's try this thing is, well, just for me anyway, I can only speak to myself, isn't really the worst thing in the world. It's okay, let's do this, let's have some safe words, let's try this, and let's make sure that we both feel safe and respected. But also, if you don't want to do it, consent is sexy and no means no and all that. What happens if I do something in the bedroom that makes my partner feel super dysphoric and I feel like the worst person in the world? I have had a few intimate experiences where Leo has had to correct my physical journey with his body, because I have gone to places that in that time he wasn't comfortable with me going to, and I imagine it's because it made him feel dysphoric, right? I mean, I don't imagine it, we spoke about it. He felt dysphoric, and so I can understand the guilt that can sometimes give you, especially if you really care about someone. You don't want to upset them, right? Nobody wants that. But ultimately, you're kind of gonna have to forgive yourself. These things do happen. It's great if your partner forgives you first, or the person you're having intimacy with forgives you first. Sorry, I said, I'm sorry, this is also relevant to people who aren't in relationships, but also just banging trans men, you know, look at their stuff. I think it's really important just to forgive those mistakes. It's kind of like, I mean, I'm not trans, so I can't speak for the community, but I imagine it's just like misgendering. If you make a mistake, correct yourself and let's move the hell on. You know, sometimes making a big deal about it can make it even worse. I found that like stewing in discomfort can be like, let's not, you know, this doesn't feel right, please stop. And it might just be that sex has stopped completely. And it might just be that you need some physical space to breathe, have a conversation, and then you come back together and you discuss, hey, let's discuss this now that we've had like a little moment for ourselves, and work through it. Again, it all comes back to communication, right? These things can happen. You can do something that makes someone feel very dysphoric. And I think that those things can be prevented by the communication, but sometimes things slip through the cracks and things can happen. And if you're really into someone and they're really into you, sex can be really like, it's not, if it's good, it's not overly rehearsed. So things happen. Sometimes you get lost in the sauce and you go off script. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? If that happens, just have the conversation. But I think it's an issue if it's something that you continue to do. Like I personally, just for my own body's sake, like if I say to someone, I don't like this thing happening, and I have to repeat myself a few times, but why though? I would not have fun with that. So, you know, just don't be a dick. But that's pretty much it, kids. Talking a bit about communication, a bit about boundaries, a bit about doing your own education, and that it's okay to sometimes make the most stupid, illogical conclusions like I did with phalloplasty, thinking that you can take testosterone and boom. You know what I mean? I was like, whoa, that's mad. I was like, that's crazy. I was like, why did, like, cis guys do that to get theirs bigger? You know what I mean? Like, wow, that was really stupid of me, but hey, these things happen. That's what learning is about, right? So that's all the conversation I wanted to have. It's a cute little kiki. I'm not going to take it seriously, and maybe in the future we can have more conversations like this. Also, thank you for 11,000 subscribers. What? We like thanked you for 10,000 like last week, and I don't know what's happening, but thank you. We've got a deep dive coming out Saturday the 31st of this month, and it's gonna be a good one. It's gonna be fun. If you are a fan of the deep dives, my advice to you is to not skip. Watch it from beginning to end, because I put in little fun things for you all the way through. But yeah, I love you very much. Thank you for watching these videos and for supporting me and my beautiful fiance. Love you very much. Drink water, eat your roots. Bye.